Right. So one of the reasons we spend a bit of time doing that introduction is that connection to folks you work with, especially when you work with students, is super important. And you all have done that sort of work before. So that is not a surprise to you. But it's always really important to spend time connecting, right? So you build trust in a relationship, even when we're working virtually, and especially when we're working with students. I'm going to drop a link in the chat, and then I'm going to share my screen to a Google Doc, which seems simple, but that's the point, right? Sometimes if you don't need to create a slide deck, then don't. So there's a Google Doc there, and I'm going to also share my screen to take a look at it. I'm sharing it with you so you can take a look at some of the links that are there. Delete. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, my second screen. All right. All right, so the reason we're doing this is so that you can take a look at some of the details for this season as we're looking ahead. So as we're looking ahead to the fall, the official opening of the PowerUp Cyber Games 2021 and 22 season starts for everyone, the big kickoff October 18th. So that's in 2 weeks. The big thing we are putting together for that to just get everybody on the same page is a kickoff video. It's going to be 45 minutes. And we're editing it together now. We have everything. We're just putting all the pieces together. And it's going to include an introduction to the season. We actually did an interview conversation between Chris Elvering and Drew McAllister, who he's out at Parkway Schools at the Spark program. And Chris works for a company that you can't share the name of, but they talked about their relationship last year and how that worked out for them working together as a coach and navigator. And we're also going to have some folks who are from the National Cyber League and Cyber Skyline work through some cryptography challenges that you are going to go get your login to in a moment so that you have the access to the 2021-22 PowerUp Cyber Games practice gym. And feel free to unmute yourself at any time to talk and ask a question. It's a small group, so we can do that. And
yeah, that'll. I was just going to say that'll help there because I know we definitely seem to be getting better as we go on. One of the things that I will say in the past couple of years, past 2 years that it's actually gone on, is that we didn't have the mentors didn't have any prior access to what was actually going to come up. So I, walking into the help with the kids there, it was really kind of honestly, it was really just a surprise what we're going to be talking about now. I didn't mind that, it was fine, but this, basically being able to get in and see prior to going and having the mentoring session there would be a little helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, so when we'll get to that, that link is going to live here, and you'll be able to do that. We'll just go through it now just because it's coming up for you. But yeah, I think that you all should be able to go in and get set up so you can play around and you can, check out the challenges and spend time in it as much as you'd like. Yeah, I think that helps too, right? So starting October 18th officially is when the practice gym opens. So what happens is from that October 18th through November 10th, that is when coaches and those team leaders are going to be working with their students to play around and learn skills, right, and work through challenges. And that is the time window when you come in for them. They're actually not allowed to talk to you when they do their competition. you can't, and neither can the coaches. So that is their window, and that is the time when they're going to be spending, the dog is talking to herself, hopefully 2 to 3 hours a week of working through the practice materials and the practice gym. We'll get to that in a moment. So that timeline moves through 1 month at a time, one topic at a time, and goes from cryptography through open source intelligence, log analysis, network traffic analysis, Linux, and software security. And all of that stuff, we assume that for a lot of students, right, this is their first time doing this. Some, it may not be. Some may have taken an AP computer science class, but other kids are brand new to it. And you, no matter what, are kind of their, expert exposure to someone who has context, right? That Context doesn't mean that you're an expert in every aspect of what they're doing, but you can help them learn how to work through that problem solving mindset and understanding the context of what they're doing and how that fits into the bigger picture. So month by month, the competitors move through one topic and then the next. And then during that competition window, the practice environment turns into a competition that they can then log into, right? Like any other sort of CTF environment or something like that, where they can get into, it turns into a challenge. They have to work through it together all at once at the same time. And then that next week, we move on to the next topic. So for you, I would like you all to go ahead and we are going to actually make sure you can get into the practice gym. So there is a link in there that you can click on that says to go here and register without paying. So what that means is that our coach registration, and this is what for you to do too, to get in, could potentially prompt you that if you wanted to sign up some teams, you could, but you're not going to. So you'll be able to, doesn't always let me because I'm logged in, right? I already have an account. Yeah, it doesn't like it when I do that. But if you go ahead and you click on that, it will give you an opportunity to either log in already or create a new account. So if you have not done any sort of competition or gone into the PowerUp Cyber Games practice gym in the past, you're going to create an account and then you are going to register yourself as a coach. Know that the only people who have access to that information and who are going to use it are going to be like, I will see that. And then like, we don't share the information that goes into that. That is just for like grant reporting, say if, and you're not even part, you're a navigator, like it's just that that's the system that we have for registration. Since we're a nonprofit, we do collect a little bit of demographic information. And there'll be an email that gets sent to you to confirm, and then you'll be able to do that. Because it will say, do you want to go ahead and pay now, or do you just want to register without paying? And that register without paying is what you need to log in.
Okay.
Yep. That is going to live in there. And we'll also get that out to everybody in other channels. But we just got that all set up so that everyone can get in, which is why I haven't shared it all out yet. I'm going to make sure that everyone is able to access it. Because we decided that was important. It was great feedback before. Because the link, what you're actually going to do when you get to it is it'll be in those emails and responses, is the cyberskyline.com competition dashboard. So I'm going to click on that, and this is what you're eventually going to see. Okay. And it is going to be your entrance into the PowerUp Cyber Games 2021 practice gym. When I enter this, it gives me the opportunity to go through, and you should also have coach. Yours will, I think mine looks like coach access. I have a demo. I have a link that was set up a long time ago. But what you're going to actually end up seeing is all of the challenges and all the topics that the students are going to go through. Okay. So you'll be able to play around in it, right? So the first month is cryptography. I don't know how it was last year, Montez, but I know that our feedback was that cryptography was generally the easiest for kids because it was the most, like, it kind of makes the most sense. So you point some, it's not as challenging of a topic, a new way of thinking. How did that work out for you last year when they worked through stuff?
Yeah, it was pretty simple. The coach wasn't terribly knowledgeable, so I was glad that I was there. And all of these different subject matters there is gives us the opportunity to really go into the history, right? So some of the stuff that we kind of take for granted haven't been around for a while. You say, well, why do the whys? And so that's really what we spend a lot of time on. I think the most difficult module I believe was probably Linux, followed by the network traffic analysis. That was probably two of the more difficult ones for the students. But again, we worked through it. The Linux part because it the unfamiliarity with it, right? And
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so because within that, it's a lot of folks' first time working in a virtual machine, working with command line. It's a new way, right, of thinking and of interacting with stuff. So that anytime you're doing that, right, especially when you're working it's just a different way of thinking. And most people are never introduced to it unless it's deliberate, right? Some people kind of live in it.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like if you've never had to, like it's a new language.
Yeah. And yeah, there was something, and I don't remember what it was with the network traffic analysis with the PCAP files. The way that I mean, they were simple. The way that CyberUp wanted us to solve it was different than the way that I normally do it. So I don't remember exactly what it was, but
Okay.
I wanted to, I solved it, whatever the question was, I solved it a different way than the way that CyberUp wanted. And the, what was it? Yeah, the embedded Wireshark or whatever it was, the web version or whatever it was, yeah, it wouldn't do my way. So yeah, we
Okay.
had to kind of figure out the way that CyberUp wanted us to do it.
Yeah.
Still great, yeah, great program, great. You know, the whole thing was great all around. But yeah, that the only I think real hang up that I had.
Yeah. Well, that's good feedback. I think that, hopefully you all being able to get into it too and play around with it starts to, it's able to kind of think through stuff a little bit or play around at the same time. And we also, it's always the fun thing when you're doing something that's challenge, but also introductory, right? Is you don't always give every single path that you can go through, but by doing that, you don't necessarily give the opportunity to have a solution that others who really know their way around might
Yeah.
get. So yeah, I've run into that with other stuff too. Um, okay. So this, right, if you haven't been in it yet, you have,
Sorry, can I ask a question?
absolutely.
I actually missed a step because a call came through.
Uh-huh.
So when I signed up to create an account,
Mhm.
it took me to said sign up as coach or student. I guess I went to coach.
Yeah, so you're gonna go pay so you're gonna sign up as a coach.
Okay.
So you're going to sign up as a coach and just start. I added that in. That's one of my favorite things about a Google Doc, right? Gives you flexibility. Yeah, you're going to sign up as a coach and then just register without paying.
Okay.
Because sometimes coaches, right? If this is you're getting that same sort of access of being able to get into it. Yeah, yeah. Good question. Thank you. Yeah. And you'll just yeah. I mean, if you want to pay for some teams, like that's cool, but I don't. Like, you have the option; it'll live in your email, but we just give that as a prompt for sometimes numbers change, right? Um, so yeah, yeah. So that'll give you that access to the dashboard. Updates will be made throughout the season to the challenges. So if they're not at a challenge yet, like there might be some changes. It's a living environment, but if anything, it won't be much. But we're always looking to, if we find stuff that doesn't quite work or something, things get updated. And the folks who actually make it are always open to it. So say like the head of Cyber Skyline, like he was just at DEF CON, what is it, last month and a half, right? So like they're always looking for fun, new, exciting things to incorporate. And like that's their jam. They're cybersecurity folks. So if you have any feedback on things as you go through it, feel free to open a support ticket, give them some feedback, send it our way as well, but they're going to see it and they're going to go and be able to, take that feedback as it goes if you run into things. So connecting with teams. So just so you know, because of COVID, teachers are in a position right now where they're making decisions at a pace that they might not have expected things to happen. There have been a lot of changes. So we have a lot of teams that are signing up, but we have just as many coaches and schools that have been said we need to settle in a little bit into September before we make any decisions about October through April. So if you are not already connected with a team, you will be shortly, but I just am letting the dust settle a little bit before we go ahead and make all of our matches. So, Hannes, were you with Wentzville last year? Can't remember who you were with.
No, last year I was with McClure.
Okay.
year before that, I think it was with the College of Biosciences or whatever, the charter school.
CSMB.
Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the folks who right now is like rallying students like in a big way, and he's like, I just need some time. um, he's like, it's bananas. I'm like, you take your time. Um, yeah, so we'll see although I think some of his seniors already at this point are going to be pretty phenomenal mentors even to his younger students now that they've been doing it for a
It's
couple
great
years.
to hear.
What's that?
I said that's great to hear. That's great to hear.
Yeah, I think so. So we'll see how that goes. So if you haven't yet, that is something I'm still working on, that matchmaking. I know some folks, yeah, just letting you know. And I have not, like I said, there's going to be a video with Drew and Chris that's going to be in, I didn't add it in here right yet because the formatting is just not perfect for sharing out. And it's not always good to show a video through something like a WebEx. It never works out as well as you'd hope. So that stuff is going to be live in with that kickoff video that everyone's going to get. And they're going to have some more insight about how that goes. There is a Slack workspace that is for coaches and navigators, not students, right? We're not going to connect directly with students that way. You're going to work with them through the coaches. And so I'm going to drop that in the chat, but that is for you to join. And let me see if I can find my chat. If I can't, that's fine. But chat just got buried since I'm sharing my screen. There it is. So I'm going to drop that in. And so I encourage you to get into the Slack channel, in the Slack workspace, and join the channels. That is where we're going to end up sharing a lot of information as we sort things out. Teachers, not too surprisingly, are often not very familiar with Slack. So there will be a bit of a learning curve for them. I don't expect much of one for you all, but a lot of teachers are not allowed to use Slack at their schools because they restrict student channels. So as we help them get into it, there are going to be a couple different channels for communication. So within that Slack, there are a few different channels. There's a general, there's one for navigators. There is a locked channel in there for curriculum design. So if you're interested in, if you find resources, we're going to sort that out for best ways for you to drop that in. But all of that is going to be great places for if you see current events, if you have questions, if you want to, share something you figured out along the way, it's there for you. And last, but also not least, we're going to talk a little bit about connecting with students, but we've already touched on that quite a bit. You are going to connect with students virtually for now, unless you have another arrangement with a school. It's honestly basically impossible to go into schools right now. So we are not going to push on that, and we are going to work with what we have, which is what works out for everybody's schedules and how we've shifted to working virtually. When you connect with a teacher or a coach, you all will sort out the best way that you decided to work with them. So I have an old house, and they are doing, hopefully you all can still see, I have an old house, and they are currently moving around telephone poles outside my house, which hopefully doesn't disrupt my internet connection too much. But speaking of infrastructure, what can you do?
Right. Yeah.
So they're putting up new poles like right outside my house. So they keep like moving the wires off. And every time they do it, I think they stretch a wire, it disrupts my internet connection. But yeah, when you're working with students and you're working with teachers, remember, none of us are ever the expert on everything, right? And a teacher is expected to be the expert in everything, but they're going into this often doing something really new. So that real world application, that connection to context and history, the connection to current events, and can really connect into that why is what makes this stuff like sing and make it interesting. I don't care about their mastery, right? Coming into this, I care much more about them really understanding and internalizing that. And I think that's where the joy comes from in doing something with practice and competition. It's that mix of really knowing what to do, but you're going to know what to do by understanding the why and the how and where it comes from. So I encourage you, when you go into connecting with students, is to take the time to listen to where their concerns are, or if they have any questions, like really give them the space. I mean, you all have done this before. You all have worked with students, and you've taught in different capacities. So I don't think I'm telling you anything you don't know. But just like, it's okay if that's where the conversations go and that's where it comes from, in addition to like going through practice gym material, is like, that's what makes it really exciting for them. And we hope that they like grab onto something, right? And take it somewhere else. Like, like maybe they'll win, like maybe they won't. They're more likely to do really well in something that they care about. Like that's where, like, and the like, if otherwise you just kind of plug your way through and like, fine, I did it. Like I got all the points, in the practice gym, but who cares if it's not something they take afterwards? And I want them to be successful. Think about this as a career so they can be you someday. But it is 4:45, and because of that, and because it's also the end of your day, I am just opening this up for you to ask some questions, or have any comments or suggestions as we head into October.
I'll just say I do have to drop there for another call. Thank you very much. This has been excellent there. Look forward to being connected with a school this year, and thank you for all you do.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully it's good.
I hope so.
I'm very new to information technology, so how will I be able to assist as far as like the subjects?
Yeah. So I would recommend, if you want to think about how this could fit in for you, is to make a PowerUp Cyber Games account, play around in it a little bit, because you're about to start the St. Louis cohort as well.
Yes.
And know that this stuff is based on the SEC Plus standards. Okay. So if you are learning this a bit ahead of people or working through it with them, you are going to get your own practice, right? By learning stuff you're going to be learning there as well. But also know that there's no pressure for you to take on something that you don't feel like you're ready for. But you also been a teacher, so you know that feeling, what that feeling feels like, right?
Yes, I do.
It is a real feeling. And if you don't want that feeling, because you don't want it, you don't want both things there, it's cool. It's fine. And you are welcome to spend a little bit of time. Think about if this is stuff that you are, you think works out at the same time. Otherwise, like, we'll have you back next year, or even, in 3 months, if you're like, yeah, I have like caught up on this.
I could see December, like, okay, yeah, give me some of these guys.
That's fine, and that's totally fine. If you're a couple months in and there's another way, or you want to do it then, cool. Like,
Okay.
jump in then. That's totally fine. I'm here. You know how to contact us. Like, you just do that and play around a little bit and think about it and do that.
All right.
No hard feelings. There couldn't possibly be.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I
Have a good
had
rest of
one
your day.
quick question.
Yes.
So, now are we going to be meeting with the students on certain days of the week, or?
Yeah. So what you're going to do is you're going to end up finding out, when you're connected with a teacher, find out what schedule they have to work on, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to find out a little bit more from them as they get going too. Right now, teachers are in full crisis mode. So even as they're signing up, I'm giving them the grace to settle a little bit. And as we start to pick up scheduling with them, they're like signing up. Great. Okay. So yeah. So what has worked best in the past is finding out a time, maybe weekly, that works with a school, that when they're going to meet, that you can sync up with them. You don't have to meet with them the whole time they're meeting, but if you have a time to sync up with them, maybe weekly or even every other week, to dedicate, maybe that could be a school that's Thursday afternoon. It could be that they meet Tuesday mornings and that works out with your schedule.
Okay.
And and if it's even, it could be that you just talk with the coach and the coach is, it could potentially be that too, depending on schedules. But the ideal, which is why I haven't synced people up yet, we don't know everybody's schedules,
Right.
is that you will have a time and they will have a time when they meet with their students, and you will like beam into them via Zoom and help them out a bit as they work through some of the challenges that week. And then you'll talk to them a bit, help them out a little bit, and then you'll head out and they'll keep working for another, hour or two afterwards on their own. And then the next week, the things that they've run into, you'll be able to help them a little bit and then help them through the new stuff as they get into it. And then they'll work on their own for the remaining, hour or two that they work a week.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
That answered my question.
Okay. Yeah, that's the hope, right? I mean, it will work. It just is figuring out the moving parts working with schools.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, every time I talk with a teacher, I go, "How you doing?" And they go, "Not good." They're like, "But I'm excited about this." I'm like, "Okay, if you get unexcited, you let me know."
Right.
Okay.
And I was just gonna say
Like,
too.
I don't want this to be anything but fun.
And I was just going to say too, Chris, what I'm planning on doing is just really kind of going over the challenges, because even though I've taken a lot of cybersecurity courses, I have taken a course and then with another teacher, it's like he's speaking German. So, I'm not going to say I'm a cybersecurity expert because, it can vary. So, but I think once I go over the courses and get a general idea of how it's set up, I should be good.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's also, thank you. And that's one of the places for setting up Slack channels and things, is for those conversations to be able to happen too amongst you all, because we know that often this stuff is not going to be the way anyone really necessarily interacts with it in their own job or how they've been taught, because it's just one way amongst a whole world that employs millions of people, right? So those conversations hopefully will help and connect with people and learn how they might do it too. Well, I'm going to let you all go, and you're going to hear from me soon, but get in on the Slack channel. The link is there that should be able to get into that workspace. Get yourself set up with a PowerUp Cyber Games coach account. And then otherwise things are going to be spinning up, and we're going to practice a lot of patience for their teachers and their teams as they spin up too. They're excited and figuring it out in their third year of pandemic teaching. All new, all over again, every year. So.
All right. Well,
All right.
I feel for them. I just like my colleagues. I'm like, oh, you guys, former colleagues. I'm like, oh, just hurts as they do it again. Well,
Hey, they're my heroes too. I joke, but they're my heroes.
Oh, I know they are. Every day they go into something that is totally unbelievably difficult and fun at the same time. So, have a great evening. And this recording, I'm going to end it, and you're going to stop it. And I am going to be in touch with you all in different ways over the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned and have a good rest of your day.
All right.
You as well.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.